Anybody else have any comments or anything they want to offer today before we get into the program, which is the usual Christmas venue of tell us about where you were at and what you did during your time in the service at Christmas time. If you've got a story, doesn't have to be combat, but if you've got a story that is interesting that we'd like to hear, feel free. All right.
Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Roger Rivers. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. I went in 1958 as soon as I graduated from college. I retired in 1981. I am an old friend of Dick Ingram's, and we attended the same church. And I can make this long or I can make it short. It's a complex story, so you tell me when I should cut it short, and I'll cut it short, okay? But in 1963, I was stationed at Travis Air Force Base, and I was assigned to go to intermediate or basic or whatever it was, professional training at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. And I left Travis and I went to Alabama, and I got there like at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and I went to my BOQ, and my roommate, believe it or not, was the guy that had been my roommate over in Germany for the prior 3 years. So obviously we had to celebrate. So it was a Friday afternoon. We went to the officers club at Maxwell Air Force Base, and we were having a drink, and about 10 minutes after we got there, here came the whole bevy of nurses trainees from Gunter Air Force Base, which is on the other side of Montgomery. I looked and I saw this lady, and I wouldn't let her go. Okay? I wouldn't let her go. At midnight, I had her pinned up against the jukebox trying to get her telephone number, and she wouldn't give it to me.
Maybe you should stop the story right there.
Okay, I'll stop the story. Okay, so she gave me the phone number. No, she did not give me the phone number. She said, I'm playing softball tomorrow, and I'm going to be the first baseman. If you show up sober, maybe I'll give you my phone number. So I did. All right, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So we dated every night for like 15 weeks. And then we got into a problem. It was time for me to come back to California, and I was getting serious, but now religion got into it. So we'll forget that. Okay. So I left. I figured it was all over. I drove back to Waco, Texas from Montgomery, Alabama, and visited the guy that had been my sponsor when I was going through navigator training. I spent like 3 hours with him, and I saw how happy he was. I saw that he had beautiful children. He had a beautiful wife, and all I'd been doing is running around. I got on the telephone. I called Alabama, and I said, honey, will you marry me? She said, if you get back to San Francisco sober, give me a call. And believe it or not, I jumped in the car in Waco, Texas, and I got as far as Albuquerque. It was like 12 noon, and I couldn't go any further. So I got a motel, and it was like 680 degrees and 275% humidity. And I paid like $13, an exorbitant rate for this room, and I was there for like 20 minutes, and I said, this ain't gonna work. I jumped in my car, and I drove all the way, believe it or not, non-stop from Albuquerque to San Francisco and up to Travis. I got to Travis, and I called, and I said, honey, I'm in San Francisco and I'm sober. Will you marry me? And she said, yes, I will. All right. So there we go. Now I'm going to fast forward. She got 10 days leave, and she flew out in just before Labor Day of '63. And we went down to San Francisco. Any of you remember the Diamond Palace in San Francisco? It was on, I don't know, Market Street and da-da-da-da. And I bought her the cheapest but the most beautiful ring I could afford. We got engaged. We went to the Mark Hopkins. We got engaged. Okay. 2 days later, she flew back to Alabama. 2 days later, I got orders to go to Germany. Okay. She tried to get transferred to Germany, but because she was a brand new second lieutenant in the Air Force, she had to spend 3 years active duty in Germany before she could be transferred. It's getting long, isn't it? All right. Want me to shut? Want me to shut up? You want to hear it? All right. Well, you want to hear the ending? You want to hear the ending? Okay. You want to hear the ending? She. You must be Army. You're a no. All right. Never mind. Anyway. Okay. Long story. We won't go anymore. We're still married. Okay. We live in Clayton. Okay. And she retired. She should have stayed on active duty, and I should have retired. She would have outranked me in a lot of ways, and she still does. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. All right. Who's next for a Christmas